never thought my life could unravel in a single moment, but it did. I'm Marissa, and my world used to feel like a safe, predictable sketch. Married to a man who's my rock, living in a charming city apartment, everything neatly in place. But beneath the surface, there's always been this restless ache, a void I couldn't name, whispering to me in the quiet hours. One rainy afternoon, a chance encounter in a park changed everything, pulling me into a whirlwind of music, laughter, and temptation that I couldn't resist. Now, I'm standing on the edge of a secret so heavy it's crushing me, and I don't know if I can ever piece my life back together, or if the truth will destroy everything I hold dear. Picture this. I'm standing at the edge of a memory, where the air feels thick with the weight of what's to come, even if I didn't know it. Then, my name's Marissa, 29 years old, and I've got a life that looks pretty on paper. Married to Ethan for 4 years now, living in a cozy apartment in the heart of the city. Ethan. He's the kind of man you'd call a rock. Steady, kind-hearted, always there when you need him. But as an accountant, he's buried in numbers and late nights at the office, leaving me with hours to fill and thoughts that wander further than I'd like to admit. I've got this itch, this restless ache inside me, like there's a piece of my puzzle missing. I can't name it, can't grab hold of it, but it's there, gnawing at me during the quiet moments. Most days, I escape to Riverside Park, just a few blocks from our place. It's my sanctuary, a place to breathe when the walls of our apartment start closing in. I lace up my sneakers and walk, letting my mind drift as my feet follow the familiar winding paths. The park is alive in its own way. Old oak trees stretch their gnarled branches over the trails, casting dappled shadows on the ground. Their leaves rustle in the breeze, whispering secrets I can't quite hear. Beyond the greenery, there's the distant hum of traffic, a reminder that the city never sleeps, even if I sometimes wish it would slow down. Every now and then, I pass street performers, jugglers, magicians, or musicians, who splash a bit of color into the gray of my afternoons. I usually keep walking, earbuds in, lost in my own world. But one day, something stopped me dead in my tracks. I remember the exact spot, a clearing near the river, where the path opens up and the skyline peeks through the trees. That's where I first heard them. 3 guys, street musicians, playing a soulful acoustic cover of a song that's always been close to my heart. The melody wrapped around me like a warm embrace, pulling me closer before I even realized I'd stopped walking. I stood there, rooted to the spot, watching them. There was Liam, the one who seemed to lead the trio. He had this effortless charm, tousled dark hair falling into his eyes, a guitar slung over his shoulder like it was an extension of him. Every now and then, he'd flash a smirk, tossing out a witty remark to the small crowd gathered around. Then there was Noah, the drummer, quieter, almost reserved. He had deep brown eyes that seemed to carry stories I couldn't begin to guess, and a shy smile that flickered when he caught someone looking. And Reese, the bassist, he was the loud one, the joker, with a laugh that echoed through the park, and an easygoing vibe that made you feel like you'd known him forever. He wore this worn-out leather jacket, and I couldn't help but notice how it seemed to match his rough around the edges charm. I stayed for their entire set that day, something I hadn't done for any performer before. Their music had a raw, unpolished beauty that tugged at something deep inside me, something I'd almost forgotten was there. When they finished, the small crowd dispersed, but I lingered, unsure why I couldn't just walk away. That's when Liam caught my eye and waved me over with a grin that felt like a spotlight. My heart did a little flip as I stepped closer, feeling the weight of their attention on me. "Hey, you're still here," Liam said, his voice smooth and teasing as he slung his scratched-up guitar over his shoulder. "You a local, or did you just stumble into our little show by accident? Gotta say, sticking around for the whole thing makes you our #1 fan." I laughed, a nervous, giddy sound that surprised even me. It had been so long since I'd felt this kind of rush, this electric buzz of being noticed. "Yeah, I live nearby," I admitted, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. "And I guess I couldn't help myself. Your music's got something special." His smirk widened, and I felt my cheeks warm under his gaze. Noah, who'd been quietly packing up his small hand drum, looked up and gestured to a weathered bench a few feet away. "Why don't you sit with us for a bit?" he offered, his tone soft but inviting. I hesitated for half a second, then nodded, settling onto the bench as Reese propped his base against a nearby tree. The wood scuffed from years of use. "Yeah, stick around," Reese chimed in, his voice booming with playful energy. "We're in desperate need of a manager for our upcoming world tour. You in?" We all burst into laughter at that, the sound mingling with the rustle of leaves overhead. It felt so easy, so natural, like I'd known them for years instead of minutes. They decided to play one more song just for me, and I sat there, completely captivated. Liam's fingers danced over the strings of his guitar, each note weaving into Noah's steady rhythm on the drum. Reese's bass line grounded it all, and when their voices blended in harmony, it was like the dreary, overcast afternoon lit up with a warmth I hadn't felt in ages. I couldn't take my eyes off them, couldn't stop the way my heart seemed to beat in time with their music. It was like they were pulling me out of the fog I'd been living in, even if just for a little while. As the last note faded, I found myself opening up, something I hadn't done with strangers in forever. "I'm a freelance graphic designer," I told them, my voice a little shy at first. "Part-time mostly. I love music, but I'm hopeless with instruments. Can't play a single note to save my life." A few days after that first encounter in the park, I found myself drawn back to the clearing by the river, almost like an invisible thread was pulling me there. The sky was heavy with clouds, the kind of gray that promises rain, and sure enough, as I approached, I saw Liam, Noah, and Reese packing up their gear under the shelter of a small wooden gazebo just off the path. The structure looked weathered, its paint peeling in places, but it had a certain charm, like it had witnessed countless secrets whispered under its roof. Liam spotted me first, his face lighting up with that familiar smirk as he waved me over. "Hey Marissa, perfect timing," he called out. "We're just hiding from the drizzle. Come join us before you get soaked." I hesitated for a split second, but the first cool drops of rain on my skin pushed me forward. Stepping into the gazebo felt like crossing into another world. The air inside carried the scent of damp earth and old wood, grounding me in a way that was oddly comforting. Fairy lights they'd strung up along the beams flickered dimly, casting a soft golden glow over everything. The rain pattered gently on the roof above, a steady rhythm that seemed to cocoon us from the outside. It was cozy, intimate, like we were the only people in the park, maybe even the whole city. They started setting up their instruments again, and Liam turned to me with a playful glint in his eye, holding out a spare tambourine. "Come on, Marissa, don't just stand there. Join the band for a song or two," he teased. I couldn't help but laugh, the sound bubbling up from somewhere deep as I took the tambourine, my fingers brushing against his for just a moment. That little thrill shot through me, unexpected and sharp. We started playing, or rather, they played, and I shook the tambourine wildly offbeat, which had all of us cracking up. Reese doubled over, clutching his bass, while Noah shook his head with that quiet smile of his. It felt so good to be part of their world, even if I was just fumbling along. After a few songs, Noah pulled out a thermos of hot coffee, passing it around with a sly look. "Spiced it up a bit," he admitted, and when I took a sip, the warmth of the liquid mixed with a subtle burn of something stronger spread through my chest. It loosened me up, made the edges of everything feel softer. We sat closer now, the conversation shifting from light banter to something deeper. Reese leaned in, his voice dropping as he asked, "So, Marissa, are you happy? Like really happy with where you're at in life?" The question caught me off guard, piercing through the haze of laughter and music. I paused, the thermos warm in my hands, and found myself answering honestly. "I don't know. I feel stuck, I guess. Like I'm going through the motions, but there's no real spark." My voice wavered a little, and I looked down, almost embarrassed by how much I'd revealed. Liam's gaze was on me now, intense and searching, like he could see right through the walls I'd built up. Noah nodded slowly, his eyes full of a quiet understanding that made me feel seen in a way I hadn't been in years. The air in the gazebo shifted, growing heavier, charged with something I couldn't quite name. Reese reached out, his hand brushing my arm in a way that was meant to be casual, but felt like a spark against my skin. My breath hitched, and I didn't pull away. Then Liam spoke, his voice low and deliberate. Sometimes you just gotta live in the moment, you know? Forget the rules for a little while. His words hung there, thick with suggestion, and I felt my heart racing, my thoughts spinning out of control. I was dizzy now, not just from the spiked coffee, but from the music still echoing in my mind, from the way their attention wrapped around me like a blanket. Ethan, my steady, dependable Ethan, slipped from my thoughts entirely. The boundaries I'd always held so tight started to blur, and in that small. As I stepped out of the gazebo, the rain had softened to a faint drizzle, barely kissing my skin, but I felt drenched in something heavier. Regret, maybe, or the bitter aftertaste of my own choices. My clothes hung on me, rumpled and out of place, a silent testament to the line I'd crossed. My mind was a storm, thoughts crashing into each other with no clear path forward. I could still feel the warmth of their laughter, the way the air in that small sheltered space had thickened with unspoken promises, and how I'd let myself get swept away in a current I didn't fully understand until it was too late. What had I done? How had I let myself drift so far from who I thought I was? Liam, Noah, and Reese were still inside, packing up their gear with an ease that cut me deeper than I expected. As I lingered near the edge of the gazebo, Liam glanced over with that same effortless smirk, tossing out a casual, "Thanks for a wild night, Marissa. See ya around." Noah gave a small nod, his quiet eyes meeting mine for just a moment, before looking away. Reese, ever the loud one, clapped me on the shoulder with a chuckle. "That was a blast. Don't be a stranger, all right?" Their words were light, almost flippant, as if what had happened was just another fleeting moment in their day. No weight, no consequence. But to me, it felt like a brick had been lodged in my chest. I forced a smile, mumbled something about heading home, and turned away before they could see the cracks forming in my facade. Used. That's the word that kept echoing in my head as I started walking. Used, foolish, and so painfully ashamed. I'd let myself believe, even for a fleeting second, that I mattered to them beyond that hazy, reckless moment under the fairy lights. But their casual goodbye told me otherwise. The city streets stretched out before me as I made my way home, the drizzle mixing with the tears I couldn't hold back. The lights of passing cars and neon signs blurred into streaks of color through the wet haze in my eyes. Every step felt heavier, like I was dragging the weight of my guilt behind me. I kept replaying the evening in my mind, each memory sharper than the last. The way the music had pulled me in, the warmth of that spiked coffee burning down my throat, the charged silence that had settled over us before everything shifted. Why hadn't I walked away when the rain started? Why hadn't I listened to that small, nagging voice in the back of my head that whispered Ethan's name? I hated myself for it. Hated how easily I'd let go of the life I'd built, the promises I'd made. My sneakers slapped against the wet pavement, the sound a steady rhythm to the chaos in my head. I didn't even notice how far I'd walked until I was standing outside our apartment building, the familiar brick facade looming over me like a judgment. Pushing open the door to our place, my heart sank. Ethan was there, sitting at the kitchen table, a cold plate of dinner untouched in front of him. The dim light from the overhead fixture cast shadows across his face, highlighting the worry etched into every line. He looked up as I stepped inside, and I saw the exhaustion in his posture, the way his shoulders slumped as if he'd been carrying his own weight of concern for hours. His eyes, usually so warm, were clouded with something else now. Frustration, maybe, or a quiet hurt I couldn't bear to name. "Marissa, where have you been?" His voice was soft, but there was a strain beneath it, a thread of tension pulling tight. "I've been calling. I was worried sick." Each word felt like a needle, pricking at the fragile shell I was trying to hold together. I opened my mouth to answer, but the words stumbled out, clumsy and unconvincing. I got caught in the rain, lost track of time. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to worry you. My voice wavered, and I knew he could hear it. I couldn't meet his gaze, couldn't face the way his eyes mirrored the pain I had caused, couldn't face the quiet pain in his eyes as I mumbled my weak excuse. The days that followed were a blur of torment, each one heavier than the last. I'm a wreck now, barely sleeping, my mind replaying every wrong turn I took under that gazebo's flickering lights. The guilt is a living thing inside me, clawing at my chest, making me jump at every creak of the floorboards. Every distant sound outside our apartment window, I keep expecting Ethan to somehow know, to see the truth written on my face, even though I've tried to bury it deep. I've been dodging him, avoiding any real conversation, plastering on a fake smile and pretending everything's fine while I spiral further into this pit of self-loathing. When he tries to talk, asking simple things like how my day was, I brush him off with a quick, "I'm fine," or "just tired," hoping he doesn't push. But I can feel the distance growing between us, a chasm I've carved with my own hands, and it's tearing me apart. I've stopped going to Riverside Park, too afraid of running into Liam, Noah, or Reese, too ashamed to face the place where I let myself fall so far. Instead, I stay holed up in our apartment, pacing the small space, staring at the walls as if they might offer some kind of absolution. Sleep is a stranger now. I lie awake at night, the silence of our bedroom suffocating me while Ethan breathes evenly beside me, oblivious to the storm raging in my head. Every time my phone buzzes, my heart stops, terrified it's a message from one of them, a reminder of the night I can't escape. I thought I'd covered my tracks, thought I could shove that memory into a locked box and throw away the key. But I was wrong. So very wrong. It's a quiet evening, a few days after that awful night, when everything comes crashing down. I'm in the kitchen, trying to distract myself by washing dishes, the hot water scalding my hands, as I scrub at a plate I've already cleaned twice. My phone is on the counter, forgotten in my haze of distraction, when I hear Ethan's footsteps behind me. I don't think much of it at first. He's probably just grabbing a glass of water or heading to the couch to unwind after another long day at the office. But then I hear a sharp intake of breath, a sound so small yet so piercing that it freezes me in place. I turn slowly, dread pooling in my stomach, and see him standing in the doorway to the living room, my phone in his hand. His face is pale, drained of all color, and his eyes, those kind, steady eyes I've always relied on, are filled with a hurt so raw it cuts me to the bone. He's staring at the screen, and I know, without even asking, what he's seen. A text from Liam, one I forgot to delete in my panic, something careless and damning. "Hey, last night was wild. Let's hang again." My knees feel weak, like they might give out under me, as I grip the edge of the counter for support. "Marissa," he says, his voice low and trembling, cracking on my name in a way I've never heard before. "What is this? Tell me. Tell me this isn't what I think it is." There's a plea in his tone, a desperate hope that I'll have some innocent explanation, some way to erase the betrayal he's reading in those words. I open my mouth to deny it, to spin some lie about a misunderstanding, a wrong number, anything to shield him from the truth. But the words stick in my throat, choked by the weight of his gaze. I can't lie to him, not now, not when he's looking at me like I've shattered something precious. My silence is an answer in itself, and I see the realization dawn on his face, the hope draining away, replaced by a pain so deep it mirrors my own. I'm sorry," I whisper finally, my voice breaking as tears spill down my cheeks. I step toward him, reaching out with trembling hands, but Ethan steps back, the movement small but sharp, like a blade slicing through the air between us. His face hardens, and without another word, he turns and walks out of the room. I hear the front door slam a moment later, the sound echoing through the apartment like a gunshot. I'm left standing there, alone in the kitchen, the silence swallowing me whole. That night, he doesn't come back. I sit on the couch, wrapped in a blanket that smells faintly of him, staring at the door, willing it to open, but it never does. The hours stretch into an endless void, and I'm lost in it, drowning in the wreckage I've created. Days turn into weeks, and still, Ethan stays away. I don't know where he's gone. Maybe to a friend's place, maybe a hotel. But the emptiness of our apartment is a constant reminder of my failure. I call him over and over, leaving voicemails that spill out of me in desperate, broken pleas. Ethan, please, I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. Can we just talk? I'll do anything to fix this. My voice cracks every time, raw with emotion. But there's no response, no sign that he's even listening. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, I get a text from him. It's short, cold, cutting through me like ice. I need space. Don't contact me right now. I stare at those words on my screen, my thumb hovering over the keyboard, wanting to beg again, but I stop myself. I've already done enough damage. I'm living in a fog now, barely functioning. Every moment of that night in the gazebo replays in my mind on an endless loop. The soft glow of the fairy lights, the rhythm of the rain on the roof, the way I let myself get carried away in a moment of weakness. I keep asking myself why I didn't just leave when the drizzle started, why I didn't turn back before everything spiraled out of control. The weight of that choice sits on my chest, heavy and unyielding, making it hard to breathe. I've stopped walking by Riverside Park altogether. The thought of seeing that clearing, that weathered gazebo, is unbearable. The memories are too vivid, too painful, like a wound that won't heal. I even delete the numbers of Liam, Noah, and Reese from my phone, severing any tie to that night, though I know it doesn't erase what happened. It's a small, futile act, but it's all I can do to try to distance myself from the shame. In an effort to make sense of it all, I start seeing a therapist. Sitting in her quiet office, with its muted beige walls and the faint hum of a white noise machine, I pour out everything. My loneliness, my impulsivity, the aching void I've felt for so long that I didn't know how to fill. I talk about how I sought something outside myself to numb that emptiness, how I betrayed the one person who's always been my anchor. Why did I do it? I ask her, my voice barely above a whisper. Why did I throw away everything for a fleeting moment? She doesn't give me easy answers, but she helps me dig into the layers of my choices, peeling back the restlessness that's been simmering beneath the surface for years. It's painful, confronting these parts of myself, but it's also the first time I've felt like I'm taking responsibility, like I'm not just running from the mess I've made. Time keeps moving, even if I feel stuck in place. About a month after Ethan left, I get another text from him. My heart leaps into my throat as I read it. Can we meet for coffee? I'm not promising anything, but I'm ready to see you. It's not much, but it's a lifeline, a tiny thread of hope in the darkness I've been wading through. I agree immediately, terrified but desperate for any chance to face him, to try to mend what's broken. The day of the meeting, I arrive at the small cafe early, my hands shaking as I clutch a cup of coffee, waiting anxiously for Ethan to arrive. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.